That's 10% of the OI.
Are we live? Oh, welcome back, everybody. It's episode 51 of Hxro Labs Live. And we just hit a big milestone with 1,000 subscribers.
Woo!
So to the 1,000 now, and one of you, thank you. Thanks for appreciating our content, showing us you love us with a little sub. And we just launched a giveaway today. I'd like to say it's in celebration of that, but it's actually in preparation for a later episode coming up in 2 weeks, where we will have one of the members of the TradingView staff on our show to talk about TradingView, talk about markets, and really just dive into some charts. Obviously, he knows a thing or two about charting and can talk to us about those features. And since we use it every day, all day, it made sense to invite him on to hang out. And in a lead up to that, we're giving away 1 year premium subscription for TradingView. So that's not nothing. That's actually worth like $1,000.
$1,000, yeah.
Yeah, and I pay for it every year, so it's a pretty sweet giveaway as far as like, you know, it's exactly what most people would want, I think. So we'll talk more about that. We might even have some TradingView swag on the day. There's been some discussions about that. So yeah, other than that, Bitcoin just made new yearly highs, which is pretty remarkable. It's kind of actually just swept the high by like $1 and then dumped $100. So we'll see if the bears come in and say, "Ha, just kidding, bitch, we're going down," or we're about to blast to new highs, take Ethereum with us and all the altcoins and just make millions.
Some alts are hitting. They actually hit key throwback levels, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, but throwback levels are what I wanted. I mean, I'm not balls deep in alts right now, and I'd like to have more exposure if dominance is going to roll over. And to do that,
buy the dip.
Yeah, I need a dip. So I'm not too worried about it either way. The thing is, with Bitcoin volatility, alts sometimes get their ass kicked. But I mean, I just like seeing Bitcoin volatility up. You know, it's been 2 years of like alts down, Bitcoin down, alts down, Bitcoin down. So it's really nice to see. Don't really care in the short term what happens as long as things are trending along. So Bitcoin going to new highs is pretty exciting today. So that's good. Sound is okay. Good. We got Jim in the audience. How's it going, Jim? We got SL, Skylar, Berlin. Good to see you. And Dave, Scott, Chris Richards, and Naboya Javonic. No, not Ja. Probably Ja. Naboya Javonic. I hope I got that right. If I did, give me a shout. And Matt, welcome, guys. Good to have you all here. And yeah, Naboya is saying 16,250 tonight on Bitcoin. That's possible. Let's take a look at the charts. Nick, this is your show, really. The Wednesday has been your slot. We've been really enjoying our Fridays. And so we decided that we'll just run duos on Wednesdays and Fridays. And Mondays, and Mondays will just be sort of like a special guest slot because it's nice to have, other people on too as well to talk. We had John Bales on Monday. Guy is smart as hell. He was introduced to me as like sort of a degen, gambling Olympic champion. And so you're not for sure what you're going to get, but I mean, guy is sharp, tons of great insight into sort of what's helped him be so successful. And I kept asking him, tell us about your dark moments. He's like, well, like I've lost a few bets. I'm like, no, like your dark moments. And he really, from the sounds of it, hadn't had any major ones. And the key to that is that he didn't blow up his risk. So if you ever wonder why everyone says the most boring thing every time you ask them what's the most important part of trading, they say manage risk, because it's true.
Yep.
And we're going to keep saying it. And he kind of confirmed it, and it's pretty universal. So anyways, let's dive into the charts. Let's take a look at what you're seeing in the market, Nick. I haven't really had a chance to pick your brain today, so I'm really curious what you see. I've got a few alts that I'm lining up. I think with dominance kind of hitting that key level and possibly rolling over, we could be in for a real treat as far as like buying dips on altcoins here in the near future. But I'll leave that till a little later on, and we can get some requests from these guys here as well.
Let's throw a screen share on. I think the biggest things to be watching right now is obviously this potential Ethereum breakout that's forming here. We're just hitting this resistance 480, 475 right now. But if we can move above this, the clear fucking sailing up to 550 on the next weekly level up here. There might be a little stop here like 515. So, at this point, all you need to do is just go ahead and set some alarms. That way, if you're sleeping, you're not going to miss the action. 5:45. There we go. So what do we need to see right now? Well, to activate these upside expansion trades, we need to see price move above this 480 level. And right now, momentum's pretty strong. It's looking pretty good right now. So I'd say, if we can crush through here, for me, I just like exited my ETH longs up here, hoping for a little pullback. But if I do see a breakout on here and I see this flip to support, I would be happy to rebuy that, targeting this 520, 560 level. And I think the big, we talked about it before, but the big metric to be watching is the ETH 2.0 deposit address. And we're at 56,000 right now, so just over about 12%. I think people are complaining that it's starting to slow down a little bit, but we've seen this before in past like ICOs and things. People are going to deposit as it get, if things get to 30%, 50%, it signals to the rest of the market there's confidence, and then people generally FOMO into this stuff. So like I said, slowly and then rapidly all at once. So that's what I'm kind of expecting here. I think, looking at some spreadsheets I've seen people throwing around, they're looking at a early December, mid-December launch of 2.0 onto the mainnet once the validators are online. So that's probably going to be the biggest news to be watching right now, and definitely have this bookmarked on your charts, because whatever happens here is going to be represented in the chart, and that's what we're going to be trading. So what do we need to see in the short time frames? Well, I think ETH also had like a chain split last night. That was kind of scary, but it only affected a few users, and they got taken care of.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Because I heard it was like a service that went down. I didn't look into it. I saw some brief chatting about it, but a lot of deposits, withdrawals were disabled. People were a little concerned. What happened there?
Yeah, I think it was only affecting the Ethereum. Some service, and only users who are using that were affected. So it was contained, it was mitigated. But I guess the major story out of this is that a lot of these exchanges aren't running their own nodes, full Ethereum nodes. Like Binance, I believe they had to stop deposits and withdrawals. So that's fucking mind blowing to me.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Ethereum infrastructure provider Infura went down. So basically, kind of like reminds you of like the what's that DDS or DDoS?
Oh, Cloudflare.
Cloudflare, when it goes down and suddenly the whole internet shuts off, you're like, oh wait, guys, we had a single point of weakness. Oops.
Exactly. Yeah, it's same. It's crazy. It's the same thing in here. But again, the really crazy thing is that these exchanges aren't operating their own nodes or infrastructure. And if something happens to the exchanges, it's fucking bad news bears for everybody. But they solved it. It's all good. Again, Ethereum, if we move above this 480 level, it's fucking clear sailings. And this is going to be the trade that you really want to be taking. Like, you don't want to be taking, a heavy leverage long right here. You've had plenty of opportunities with this bullish market structure. You're longing at resistance. Don't do it. So you need to wait for the expansion here, and it's okay. Like, look at these fantastic moves that we're going to be getting from this, right? So don't fret. Like, why take this extra risk? You're risking for what? 2% upside with potentially all this fucking downside below you, at least to like 465. Not worth it. So just wait at this point for the range expansion. Fundamentally, ETH 2.0, it is coming. It's moving along. I think people are underwhelming how significant it's going to be. So I think there's a lot of alpha.
It's funny. Yeah, it's like this sleeping giant where we know it's coming, but the price hasn't exploded. Bitcoin has really had the spotlight. And I often see this where there's just this like catalyst sitting there waiting to be talked about, but because price hasn't really boomed, it's like, oh, it's there, but nobody cares. And then when price starts rallying, it's just going to be all the big ETH bulls coming out saying, I told you so, greatest catalyst ever. How could you not imagine not being long on ETH 2.0, right? But all that talk won't come until it's like $500 ETH closes on the daily, and then it's like, we're going to 750.
I think it really depends on who you're following on your social media. It's very easy to create bubbles. And, for us, for example, we do a lot more trading and analytics side. So we create that bubble where price is often the most talked about thing. But if you cater or create lists that diversify that and hedge that by following developer pools and stuff, like they have a much more grounded long-term approach to this stuff, and so it really smooths out. Like they are talking about it. It's just not in the trading circles because, like you said, people just care about the volatility and price of things versus something that may take 1, 2, 3, 2 years, right? It's just not. It's not that the time horizons don't line up.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's take a quick look into Bitcoin here. Obviously, huge moves today. It's market structure looks pretty solid, but yeah, it is coming up to a big weekly resistance level here, right? And this is probably one of the last, probably three major resistances to go. This is one of the last big ones. This was the top, like the dead cat bounce. This was the fucking top of the last run. So I'm expecting maybe a swing failure pattern. And a little bit of retrace from this level. If we blast through it, I'll be humbled. But from a TA point of view, could be looking at something like this. Maybe drives it up to just under 17K or something, and then back down.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see kind of a blow off top accelerated move into that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Again, happy to be humbled, but yeah, I wouldn't be looking to take any big fresh longs at 16.2. If anything, if you're ever going to take out a short hedge on Bitcoin, let it be at the one of the last major weekly resistance levels. Nobody's going to laugh you out of the room if that was your play. But yeah, keep the BTC spot exposure for now. This thing, the institutional acceleration of the asset is only going to continue to pick up. It's only a matter of time before nation states start playing around like they already are. They're just doing it on the mining side, right? But who knows what they're doing in the markets as well. They can have that veil of anonymity behind them. So, from taking this down a little bit, look at that thing. We're absolutely fucking vertical right now, parabolic.
Yeah, and the greed index is like
it's extreme greed. Yeah,
extreme greed, and that can last for a while.
Sure.
I wouldn't use that to say, oh, better short. It's just kind of like a maybe don't long.
Yeah.
As far as like big positions go, I think there's a lot of people who buy sheepishly at the lows and maybe along the way, and then they look at what they could have bought, and then they say, well, ooh, and then they're going to buy, and then it shoots up another $500. They say, oh, I knew I should have bought. Now I'm going to buy, and that's how you get those FOMO blow off tops.
Mm-hmm.
It's risky, and it's really hard to see when you're in it. And then of course, it could just go 18, 20, 22, 25, but it's just so unlikely.
Rapid acceleration.
Extreme greed, probably a great time to just cool your jets.
Yeah, we did our analysis on this a few days ago. Basically what we did, guys, is that we looked back on Bitcoin going all the way back to, I think we did 2015. And from 2015 to 2017, 2018 here, your average pullback was 32%. And there were 12 major pullbacks, right? Again, this is what we've been saying, that magic 30% mark for Bitcoin pullbacks in bull markets, that's really a great time to start buying in. And it was interesting, we noticed, so from this recent run here, say early 2019 to where we are now, almost 2021, in this bull cycle, the average retraces have gone down slightly. They're down to 27%. So again, that 27 to 32% mark, if we are having one of those days, generally, that's when you want to start averaging in, especially when we're in a bull cycle. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and that's going to definitely be something I'm using.
It's really cool. I got to flip over to my screen here because it's right on with what you're talking about. Let me just pull it up here. There you go. So I was just looking at this support, and I was thinking, is this ever going to get a tag? How do we not come back and visit that level someday? I mean, in this case, it's like the bottom of the next bear market, and we just, if you wait for it, you miss the whole friggin' bull. But I mean, and then hearing you talk about, because we did talk about that 31, 32% average pullback through the bull. And it's interesting. So I saw this here. I was like, okay, well, that level now is 25. Oh, what if we just play a little bit of crystal ball here and say, what would 32 look like? That would actually put us at a top of a sweep of this high. So it's kind of interesting. And, it seems like an inverse way to think about things, but it's crazy how much that happens, how often, price goes up just enough so that the 702 RLZ throwback is right at support or whatever. And it just seems to all be this mishmash of alignment. So I'm actually going to keep an eye on this now. That's pretty fascinating. And if we do get the blow off top here, that's like a $1,500 move again, where the wick ends. And then if that ends, and then we just kind of crap out through, I guess this is obviously to the spring, but we could crap out through maybe the end of the year, whatever that's going to look like. Who knows? But
it's one of my strategies I'd be looking to do would be, using a ticks and wicks contract. So say we're up there, the probability is going to be looking really good for a 15K close for a deep retrace, right? So that's something I was thinking about. What to do there.
I mean, what is that down here? That's this is like 12. I'm looking at them right now. So that's like 12. So a close below 12,500 for March 26, like the next quarterly contract, it's only 3x. They're basically saying it's like a 27%.
Yeah, but what I was saying is that if we wait, like those will get repriced, right? So if we move up $1,500, those things I would expect they would get repriced quite favorably. Sure. So that's what I'd be looking for. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, even like a Christmas pullback. Although it looks like they're only offering the close below 10,005, which. It's a little intense. Intense for a Christmas close. I guess there's a wick. Wick is
the great part about it though is that you could still profit from that on the downside. Just as price goes down, it's still going to get repriced. It doesn't necessarily have to hit that. So
that's a good point. I haven't really played them to the close most of the time, anyways. So it doesn't really matter. But that's right. If they're offering you like, your odds will.
I saw Matt talk about the uni stuff, and I was dropping this alpha internally the other day when I was looking at this. Like, who the fuck goes into the Uniswap forums and actually reads the proposal, all that stuff, right? And it's mind blowing, man. Like that's my problem with all this governance stuff is that the participation in it is so low, so it effectively renders governance obsolete and very ripe for attack for malicious people, right? If it's participation is low, you can easily influence this stuff, right? And going through the Uniswap forums, essentially like the liquidity rewards for miners ends tomorrow, I believe. Is it tomorrow or the 14th when that call is? It's coming up. Next tomorrow or the day after that. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. Tomorrow morning the call is. And if there's no other like an extension put in place or no other proposal, essentially what that's going to do is remove a lot of sell side pressure on the Uni token, because now you're not going to have the miners getting these reward subsidies and then just dumping it on the market. So it could not a lot of I've seen some people starting to talk about it today, but I don't think it's getting enough attention. And like, let's take a quick look at the chart here.
Yeah, you've been trading Uni a little, have you not? Or you just been watching it?
No, Uniswap and YFI have been the best ones to be trading right now because of their volatility. Why is this not coming up? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Yeah, so there's a little bit of bear div on this right now, but as we were saying before, get above this 3.3 level and it's canceled. And I think the real target for like this up move is probably going to be somewhere right around here, like that 3.9 level, kind of like where we fucked off last time. Yeah, right there. So I still think there's upside in this move from here. At least good 20% on that. So a lot of you got the fundamental news. It's not widely circulated news, and the chart looks good, right? Like this is the daily, but if you take this down to the 3-day. Take this off the hero colors. So I use one of the few indicators I use. I love momentum, right? So I use the SCMR suite. Unfortunately, he's not active anymore. But yeah, 3-day blue, and what a blue candle is signaling is a first signs of a reversal in the market. And the higher the time frame, the higher weighting that you put on these signals, right? So this is the first one. We've had a hard downtrend for the last 2.5 months. You get a candle like this, that's showing that the buyers are actually stepping into the market, and here's your confirmation of that reversal. So if we see price at this point now, you can't really get long right here, right? Unless you're doing a scalp up to this 3.3 resistance. But the real next play is going to be the expansion trade off the 3.3, with a target into this block here at 3.8, 3.9. And that's going to be a 16 to 20% trade. So and it's going to be very low risk, right? Because we've already cleared up, we've confirmed the trend is back to the bull, right? So that's what I'm looking for if you're not already in this trade. And if it really wants to go ham, then this is your the next upside target's like that 4.8 level. But this is it's really interesting. Like now we're actually going to see the value proposition and what the market actually thinks about this token.
Yeah.
Now that the sell pressure is going to be alleviated. And if we see a Uniswap 3.0 roll out, sometime in the next quarter, and they address like, the vampire bots, the fucking front running, like all of that, if they have solutions for that and they add limit order functionality, like this could be a fucking mammoth. And if they follow through on their fee distributions to holders as well, then there's huge incentives to hold Uni token. Like they have everything.
I mean, liquidity just hit a new all-time high, 3.3 billion.
Yeah.
Volume is just kind of hanging out, which is more reflection of the market at the time, I think. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm looking at dips. I would like to get a bag. I sold my free uni like way back around like whatever it was, $4, $3.
Yeah.
Suddenly now we're like coming back to that price, but I've just been waiting. And if we do, get that pullback that I'm waiting for, I mean, here's the thing. Even if Bitcoin goes parabolic blow off top here, versus Bitcoin, a lot of shit's going to suffer. Obviously, we're going to get that dump. Maybe new lows, maybe just a retest of lows, which is what I'm watching for. But if it rolls over in the midst of finding its new range, which is most likely just a sharp pullback at first, a lot of these alts will pull back, like YFI, Uni, into those RLZs off the bottom move they just made. So I'm really excited either way. I just think it's close. I don't think there's a huge rush. This is ETH BTC as I see it, and that could be a sideways move right up until January. I mean, Ethereum historically bottoms in January. And dominance is right up here. We actually just about broke down into the risk on window, kicking off a new one yesterday. But today's candle actually just pushed back up. So yeah, and I put it last night. I said, look, this is looking really good because it was down here, but we got to wait for close. And as fate would have it, we're not going to get the close. It doesn't look like today. But a bounce up to here again, like that would be similar to what we got here, and that was preceding the big bull. What I think is bullish is that how fast this happened.
Yeah, like really, like people were crying DeFi dead. But all the data and the underlying metrics, both from like individual networks and then as well as from these these swap protocols, I think it's fucking live and well. Like there's no other product in crypto that gives yields like this. Like this is like, can you imagine what's about to happen once this is the real alpha? Like once there's real UI and UX that isn't complete fucking garbage like crypto has had for the last 10 years, you put products like that in front of populations that are undergoing negative yields through negative interest rates. There's over $11 trillion of assets and currencies that have negative yields on them right now. All of a sudden, you fucking introduce a two-click type protocol, and you can be earning 6-7% low risk. They're going to stay in the highly liquid stuff, right? That's why. There's multiple reasons, but ETH, like the ETH and USDC pair, right here is one of the most liquid ones, right?
This is actually YFI. Yeah, no, I mean your take on that with in Japan and all these negative yields. I mean that's really fascinating stuff because not a lot of people are talking about that, where DeFi will fit in with existing infrastructure.
It's solving negative yields. DeFi solves the negative yield issues of where to park money. And it's just, when you realize it, it's like, holy fuck, this could be absolutely huge. So not only do we have the yield, the negative yields, but we also understand that the centralized financial services market, the market cap's like 22.5 trillion. That's the market value of this stuff. It's like 22.5 trillion. It's going to be projected to increase to 26 trillion by 2023. If DeFi just captures 1% of that, its current market value is around 15 billion. This thing is easily going to a trillion dollar market cap collectively. So the upside here is 100x, 200x from here.
Pretty fascinating. I mean, it's kind of hard to think about after the bear and where we're at, and it's really hard to see into the future. But I mean, I still remember even the summer was soft compared to 2017.
Yeah.
Like the May bull rally for the altcoins, the December bull rally. I mean, we're talking 100x, and not just like Uniswap sub 500K coins going 100x, because that's pretty cool too. But we're talking places that raised like 10, 20, 30 million at their ICO and then came out and went 100x. Like I'm thinking of like
Icon.
Icon, ICX. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they raised huge, and then they came out and they traded from the 15-cent ICO to over like $14. So I guess not quite 100x. I don't know, but either way, fascinating shit. I'm pumped. This is what I see on YFI. Like I'm not going to say, oh, it has to go down here. This is the top, but this is when I'll get interested. If it happens, if it doesn't happen, well, I'm not interested. I'll find one that does. I don't care what I trade. I say that all the time. Like, I want to trade something that gives me what I need, and what I need is an RLZ, a dip to this. Yeah. There's something to be said for chasing the pumps. A lot of, somebody asked me on Twitter that they say, how do you know when to use the pump chaser fib? If something is really rallying strong and it's pumping, then you use the pump chaser fib. So, for example, right here, I'll hide this for now just to make sure that's clear. Let's say we'll even put the replay on. So like this, arguably, get rid of this gross thing. I mean, this is a pump, right? It's come off key support. If I had it all drawn up like my DeFi perp, this was key support. It bounced off it with high volume. So that's this bar here. If you were a keener and you were watching that day and you said, look, that looks pretty bottomy, I'm going to chase this. You probably could have even just snuck in on an RLZ tag that day. Yeah, right up the sweet spot. So like there was a trade there. I don't watch too many assets like too closely to catch these really sneaky ones, sadly, but it is what it is. The strategy works. So you get your higher low here and it shoots up. But if you missed this and you're like, man, that's a pump, there's a ton of volume, this thing's going to moon, I don't want to wait for an RLZ, right? So and that's what I always talk about. I say I'm going to try to catch this higher low like we did off that. But if you're really confident that it's going to pump pretty hard, you can catch these pretty well. And you'll see there, I mean, that pullback into that pump chaser zone ended up being the entry. So it's a little bit of an art, and you just have to decide where your risk is at. If it's really pumping hard, this kind of a zone is great. If it's a little lazier and you're thinking, well, and that's why I'm thinking RLZ, because we had this huge downtrend. And I'm not talking about YFI. I think that's one of the few DeFi, it's pretty hype. But for most of these alts that are just kind of lazily chasing this little rally, I think there's a good chance that we can get, because it's a big long downtrend. So it's not going to take much for them to flip bear, for people to panic sell that rushed into these. And
you brought up a great point quickly, is that the coins, we do that sometimes too. The coins that lag big moves and like sector-wide moves, people are like, oh, I'm going to go on that one because it's going to follow. But be aware that when the wider market turns for a reversal, those things are going to get nuked the fucking hardest because they're weak, right? Yeah. Most of the time, they're super illiquid. There's not the network effects are fucking god awful, and the trade volume is shit. So like that strategy can be very dangerous. If that's what we're saying right now. Like YFI is getting close. It's hitting a resistance level today. Solana's hit a resistance level today. Ren's hit a resistance level today. So if you're stuck in these coins at a key support level, for example, that you just thought, wow, this is a great entry. When that support level nukes, that thing is dropping 20, 30%, and you are in a fucking pickle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was hard this week. I definitely did dip my toes in. I bought a little FTM. I bought some Dusk. I bought a little Cody, flipped it. But I was very cautious because I knew I wasn't getting the entries I wanted. I was just kind of like, well, we're probably going to get a little bounce and a continuation, so I'll just buy some of these alts. I bought some as I went to sleep. I sold them when I woke up, made a few $100. Like I it wasn't my usual setups. But if you look here at like BLZ, for example, we got this big bearish market structure. Okay, big boom, downtrend right into this 8-to-1 GAN, right off the 88.6. This was a sweet level. I had it drawn up. Not really my style to just buy like the 10th red candle and call bounce, but again, I get this low. Now we've got this move up here. We've got a GAN resistance kind of at the 786. I think there's a decent chance if Bitcoin blow off tops, or even if Bitcoin pulls back. I mean, if it decides to make a move, these alts will, they're still not confident. They don't have a big solid base. I mean, look at this, right? When you have this, you can you feel a little more confident about your lows. There's not a ton of volatility. These things are volatile. There's a big downtrend. So I think a lot of people have themselves like sell, on the trigger for the sell, and it won't be hard to shake that out. And so this now is the kind of stuff I'm looking for, where, whenever it happens, get into that zone for me, right? Yeah. And I want to I might even just have some blind bids set there, stops at the lows, nice, and then obviously your upside is pretty sick. So it's all coming together. Bitcoin volatility will help my case. But I'm not in a rush. I certainly am not chasing something that just went down like 80% on a 30% pop. Like that doesn't make sense. Bottoms typically don't form like this. Certainly not in alts. So that's my long take on how I'm looking at the alts right now. BLZ is just one of them.
Yeah, looks good. And like you, I think we're going to see some pullbacks. Like we've already started that today. I'll make the case quickly here, just using the big names that we all know and love. Solana here, for example, right? You know, I'm hesitant to share this on stream, but I'm going to because I love our followers. And you know, obviously, I operate in the OTC space. So I am privy to information and order flow that most people don't see ever, right? So the information, decision making, they don't necessarily have all the accurate information. So I did say January there's going to be major distribution. This is true. However, there are multiple very large, well-capitalized, blank check type capitalized funds that are fucking soaking everything up. So I thought to myself, well, why buy this before January, right? Because if I know there's going to be a massive influx of liquidity into the markets, odds are, especially because those guys have been locked up for years, right? They're going to be dumping. But we have these like white angels stepping into the market now and basically saying, hey, if you want to dump to us, dump now. So they're trying to mitigate the effects, right? And so I think that's a really smart strategy taken from both the Solana team, but also these, invested interests into this project. I love it, right? So do I think this is going to collapse in January? I don't think so anymore, honestly. Like I think it's going to be less of an impact than what most people were thinking, as well as myself to some degree. And just seeing, this new type of strategy that the team is taking, I like it. And I think it's going to be effective. I know it's working now. Like there's massive volume being distributed to these funds, right? Coins are being shaken to stronger hands. But in the short term, this is the bearish throwback level right here. Why take the long? So what do we?
It's a weird spot. Yeah, it's a weird spot to suddenly long it.
Right. Like so, what I'm looking for here is this is these former range lows here at what is that, $2? If this finds support here, then this we always say like if this makes a higher low off here, that's your trigger to get fucking long on this thing again, and your stop loss is going to be below this $2 level here, right? And you'd be targeting this nice volume profile, the range highs, right? The list goes on of why there's a great area for confluence here. Of course, with the stop right here, right? But if we do break lows, well, then where do you want to buy? It's easy, guys. We want to buy the breakdown here at the throwback level,
which I bet is the RLZ.
Oh,
I love when our throwbacks and everything line up like that.
Yeah, so I'd be looking to buy that 1.6, 1.7 level. And to give you some more market insight, there's at least $20 million in OTC buy side demand sitting at 1.7, 1.75. So like there's a lot of funds thinking the same thing here, and basically the smart money is loading up on Solana. That's the short end of this story right here. So this is a buy the fucking dip thing, and if we do see this $2 support with a higher low here over the next couple of days, that's going to be a short-term trade signal for taking your long off. Obviously, you're going to have 22%, and so I like doing the three targets thing. Look at that, fuck yeah! And your downside is what? If you're taking the long rate off here, your downside is like 5%. Wow, 4 to 1, 9 to 1, 10 to 1. So fantastic opportunity there.
Can you remind me to trade this when the time comes? I always listen to these ideas and then I'm like doing something else and I'm like, oh yeah, I missed Solana.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's chat.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. And that's why I also like just setting alarms on absolutely all these levels. All my charts got reset today, otherwise it'd be there. But yeah, same thing in Ren here right now, right? We're at a huge bearish throwback level. Why take the long? Like you're better off waiting for the throwback to see this level support again, and it already has on this candle. So depending on what happens, like there's no reason to be getting long right here, right? You're either longing off the throwback support levels, or you're not fucking doing anything. You're going to be waiting for because once this range does break, look how long we've been consolidating here since September. The longer you go sideways and the tighter the coil, the more explosive the expansion and upside trade. So that's what I'm waiting for. I love Ren, right? Like I'm super bullish on it. It's just sometimes
I still don't have any. I need to get my shit together and just buy like 100 Ren just to say I'm in the party.
Yeah, you got to get in there. And like once this thing does expand, look at these super low risk trades. You're going to have 40% upside with practically, well, not zero risk, but your risk is going to be really mitigated. down on the downside. So like that, just wait, just fucking wait. I don't know what else to say. Preserve your capital, right? And then yeah, we already know what's going on with
check out MTA. Did you were actually long on MTA, I believe.
MTA, yeah.
Or did you catch some of that?
No, I sold it before the fucking pump because I'm a cuck. I went in more so into Ethereum. But MTA, like, yeah, it was setting up a great range, but it's still you know, there's still heavy inflation. There's still going to be big distributions and stuff. So, and it technically hasn't even cleared any throwback levels, right? Like, the thing is, like we always say, these low dollar USD notional coins, they pump the best because it's super illiquid. And, you know, 50 cents to 80 cents, you know, well, I guess it went to $1.50. What a huge fucking move. What is that, 60% or something? Yeah, 62%. Anyways, there's still going to be, you know, there's still really good upside potential here, right? There's still 50% on this. So, you know, ideally, I did set some bids down here. They didn't get filled. But yeah, ideally, if you weren't in this pump, you didn't want to just jump into it like a reckless maniac, you're probably bidding that 1.1, 1.12 level, right? Like, look at that. Right off the support, confirms the SR flip right off there. So yeah, I see upside still here for MTA if everything doesn't roll over. So that's what I'll be looking for. And this getting above this $2 mark, or sorry, this 2.3, 2.4 mark, and turning this back to support, that's going to be the real signal that MTA has entered back into the bull, right? So until that happens, this is still bearish. This is all bearish down here, right? What we need to see is price come up here, overshoots a little bit, and if it consolidates in here, basically turning this back to support, right? If this flips back to support, you got confirmation that this thing is about to get fucking sent, right? This is the real trade-off. Obviously, there's going to be stops in between, right? You pull the shit over, but the real target is usually into these liquidity spots, right? These volume nodes. So that's what I'd be looking for. And like in terms of like a percentage move, let's just say conservatively off of that. Well, there you go. 65%, you know, first target probably right off this daily resistance, 42%. And your downside is going to be below this range. Look at that. It's 6-1, 4-1, right? Versus getting long here, hoping it goes up there. But in reality, you're looking at another 30% downside risk that you have to be acceptable taking. Fuck that. That's not even a 2-1. Like, that's god awful. Yeah. Nobody would take that.
Yeah, no, the R is not there.
No, like Messi's right though. But Messi, you know, Messi got long down here.
He loaded up. Yeah, I caught his stream last week. He's like, guys, you know, $1 MTA.
Yeah. So entries, you know, where you got in obviously matters. And like at that point, he doesn't really have to worry unless price again is dipping below that 1-1. But yeah, for him, of course he's going to be showing us to the fucking moon at this point. He needs liquidity to keep it going. But yeah, you know, if we're seeing a wide reversal in the alt market and the DeFi, like look at that, even the 3 days, this could just be getting started, right? If this is truly the bottom, there's going to be so much opportunity in these markets over the next couple months.
And I guess the important thing here is, you know, going back to who you are as an investor, as a trader, what your plan is, because Nick and I are very active in the market. We are traders. We are loyal to, you know, whatever you're loyal to, Nick, USD, Bitcoin, Ethereum, not too big into like random bag holds. I mean, you're obviously trying to catch some big swings through this with some different alts, but point being, if MTA took off, like, you know, it's so easy, or it's so much easier, I should say, not easy. It's a lot easier to trade these things when you don't have an emotional attachment to them, right? So if I'm looking at MTA and I'm like an investor, I work full time and I'm just kind of like, I want to get long in some alts. You know, some of the guys I know well that follow, and they love MTA. So yeah, you're looking at this and you might say, well, Nick, I just want to buy some. Well, okay. But then you're not trading, you're like investing for a much larger run. And that's just an important distinction to make, because there are definitely some alts that I'm long, like want to be long on, that I'm probably going to miss. That's just the reality of it. But the reason I'm going to miss them is because I'm waiting for the entry that I want. And if I don't get it, like I'll get entries I want somewhere someday from something.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that, because it's important. If you're sitting here saying, well, where should I buy some of these coins for the next 2 years? Well, a lot of, you know, you don't have to worry as much about these smaller levels. You can just kind of dollar cost average in, buy a little bit here, buy a little bit there.
Yeah, especially if your time horizon's like, generally crypto operates in like 4-year cycles, give or take a few days. But if you're buying now thinking, we're in year 1 of bull market, then DCA is
if you're looking to hold, hell yeah. No, if that's ultimately my point. If you just want to have some alts exposure for the next year or 2 or 3, pretty much anything you buy this week, last week, probably going to age well if it's a good project.
Unless we see like a fucking government crackdown or
paradigm shift. Well, that's actually something I wanted to bring up. I got the log chart up here, but we don't have to get into it this moment. But when you talk about those 32% pullbacks in bull markets, they're often fueled by an FA event, right? So in 2017, we had the Bcash fork. There's a lot of FUD that July about what's going to happen to the chain and is Bitcoin even going to exist? This is the greatest threat, existential threat to the Bitcoin blockchain ever. And then we dumped and kind of chilled through the summer. And then, September of that year, we put in a new high, and then it just China banned Bitcoin. And I thought it was the top. I think most people did. They said, oh, shit, like China bans Bitcoin. Well, the party was fun, but it's over. And for 3 weeks, the shit rolled over and dropped. Binance Coin dropped 82% in three weeks. So, but then we went on to make new highs, and the funny thing is the catalyst that drove us to those highs was likely the CME listing, and that actually was the thing that marked the top. The second it opened, they shorted the shit out of it, and it dropped like 16K overnight. So, point being, I'd like to discuss what we think maybe these catalysts could be for these pullbacks. When does the U.S. government turn around and say like, hey, stop taking over our U.S. dollar? Like, there's some, might be way later on, but I'm always
the biggest threat.
The
biggest threat's would be some stable coin getting taken down. Obviously, Tether, the looming knife of Tether is always there, right?
God, if we get Tether fudded into another 30% pullback, I'm gonna laugh so hard. That thing was like the FUD catalyst through the bear market.
Yeah, and like the TUG conspiracy theories guys, they've fucked off for pretty much all of this year. But
they'll be back.
Amazing. I would assume so. But it is amazing what Tether has accomplished. Like any other vehicle that has mimicked the US dollar has generally been shut down, but I don't.
And they have an incredible. It's still the highest volume coin in the market, I believe.
Yeah, it's growing like 15 billion market cap plus. But I do think like we will see some type of maybe not necessarily full on government. You cannot buy this, even though we have seen some governments take that approach. In the end, I think Bitcoin's an inevitability. Cryptocurrencies are an inevitability at this point versus, say, 5 years ago, where it's like, it's an experiment, could fail at any day. I think we're past that narrative at this point with the level of institutionalization. But with institutionalization comes restrictions. And we're seeing that. KYC, AML, blacklisted addresses, right? And if we see, which I do believe will happen, if we see these institutional custodians, well, they're all under the jurisdiction of U.S. regulators and authorities. So, if you have your custody held in fucking J.P. Morgan or with PayPal, if the government or IRS doesn't like what they see or what you're doing, they could just send out an order, blacklist this, restrict access. So that's why the idea people really need to be pressing the idea of self-custody moving forward. I think otherwise, and I think it's going to get left behind. I really do. I think the majority of the people just want convenience, and that's what these institutions are going to offer them. And so it's,
it's interesting. I was talking about this with my parents actually yesterday. My stepdad and my mom were out for little patio beer on the last day of what seems to be this late summer that's lingering in November. But they are paying for a phone bill, a cable bill, internet bill, 2 cell phone bills, like all this shit. It's like $600 a month. I said, guys, what are you doing? And they didn't really know how to manage it. They were like, and I brought up Bitcoin. They're like, oh, you always turn everything into Bitcoin. I'm like, well, seriously, like we always joke, like nobody wants to manage their own funds. Like a lot of people can't even manage their own cable bills and optimize that. And I think there's an entire generation out there that is just not ready to take on their own finances. Certainly not with things like private keys and that. So, but this is still V1, I think, of crypto. We're going to get into that. The internet started off with URLs were just like IP addresses, right? So we'll get a naming domain, and it's going to. We're going to need custody, though. We're going to need custody. We're going to need insurance.
Yeah, I agree. But like the name domain, like the first coin to be doing that was like fucking Namecoin back in like 2012, 2013. Like Namecoin, Peercoin, like all
That's
of
what
those.
RVN does, isn't it? Burn some like 500 or something RVN to like name something. I don't know the details, but that thing's been tanking, unfortunately.
I'm not familiar with that one. Handshake protocol would be another one that does a lot of stuff around DNS. So yeah, they're out there, and I do agree with you. And I think like the next big vertical for what DeFi products are going to fucking bring us to mainstream and in crypto are going to be ones that focus the UI and UX. And like, you know, we're working with teams of, you know, fucking Apple devs, LinkedIn devs, Facebook guys. These companies understand user experience. They understand what people want, right? In terms of interacting with technology. So when I see incumbents like that coming into this space, I'm like, holy fuck, we're about to go on a real. We're going to have some real fun with this stuff, because now we're, you know, the smart contracts, you know, testing and production. A lot of this basic functionality around staking and lending and liquidity mining. The early issues are getting worked out, or, you know, they will get worked out. So now we just need that infusion of really solid UI, UX on the front end, and a back end that just doesn't fail and rob you of all your money. And once we have those two pieces, crypto is going to absolutely dominate, especially DeFi, under the narratives that we discussed at the top of the hour, which is the negative yielding, interest. And on all, like, it's $11 trillion. Like, that is going to need a home to go somewhere.
Park it in my shitcoin, man. Let's do it. Speaking of DeFi, you've got AION USD up there. They're building a platform, or their main project is called Moves, something to do with DeFi. But why don't you take a look at that chart? I want your take. I actually bought some like 2 hours ago, because I remembered that their 8th inning event, where the inflation drops from like 9 million new coins a day to about 1 point something million. That's in 3 days.
Yeah, I think.
What is your take on this one?
I think it's getting priced in. You know, we've been shitting on AION for the last few weeks, and that's not because we didn't know all this stuff was coming. It's because the charts look bad, and like, sure enough, like fucking week after week of new lows. However, we've come into a weekly support. It's supporting. We got a nice blue fucking reversal candle here. You got a nice decline here on the bearish momentum on the VZO. The only thing that's missing right now is a volume spike. Right, and maybe I have to like take this down to get a better view. But this looks good. Like, if I'm
long, you do, yeah, because look, the volume from earlier in the year was so massive that's going to dwarf anything.
Everything else, yeah. So I have to scale this a little bit better. But I
have a hard time seeing your volume in general. I'm going to get some glasses.
I'm gonna need more than that. I'm gonna need a microscope. Like a 400x setting. But no, the chart does look good. Like. And I'd say if AION's moving above this like 086, 087 level, it's probably going to be cleared to go test this, you know, this range resistance. And like, look back here, guys. We pull, you know, this is why we like previous history. We pull it over, right? Once this level turns back to support, and we were talking about this on literally every other chart, right? This thing is going to be full fucking send mode, right? Like, this thing has been downtrend, downtrend, downtrend. This is the first higher low potential. This right in here, this box, this is potentially the reversal time, right? So I am actually pretty excited about this one. I'd be looking to buy a throwback, because what do I think could happen here? If we climb up into this resistance, I'm happy to see price go to here and miss this, because I know I would want to be buying this. What I want to see is this flip to, right? I want to see this level here flip to support. This is your God tier entry. And that, you know, right, if it busts through here, like, this is your first target. Obviously, this entire you can pull this over, right? It'll line up fine. But yeah, this range up here, like 0.18, and there's so much thin air right here, right? Like, that's why I think once it breaks this this little level here around like 0.12, 0.125, it can really fly, and I think it will. Like, again, the longer these consolidation periods, you can see the range is getting tighter, right? Tighter. Now it's starting tightening. You can see it, right?
That looks like a falling wedge, sir. Well, more of a flag now, but flip over to my screen quick, John, because I want to show you what that might actually coincide with a reclaim of these all-time lows on the Bitcoin pair, right? And you know, we are going to see coins fall out of whack with Bitcoin throughout its rallies sometimes, because when Bitcoin shoots to new highs, I mean, these things just aren't going to keep up all the time. But you can actually use extensions going downwards as well. So I drew off this move. Whoops, nope, I didn't. That's a lie. Where is it? Yeah. So, yeah, there it is. No, right here. So from this high, impulse down, bounce up, and okay, so drawing the extension from that, it gets you down into this zone. So I'm not too shocked with a little chaos level here as well, sticking out into this area. This would be an area where there would be support as far as like looking for, anything, because how do you look left, there's nothing. This is all-time lows. So I wrote this up, but yeah, a reclaim of this support would actually probably coincide with that level you were just talking about, as far as like getting up there, and then there's your God tier entry, as you say. I am getting, because I like this project and I've been just watching it and holding some, forever. Look at this thing. I mean, whoa, I sometimes forget myself just how friggin' gross. I mean, that took like 8 minutes to get to the top there. So, I mean, this thing is so wrecked, and that's mostly because of its inflation model and obviously just the bear market. So I can't even say it'll take all that back, because, there's just a much higher supply now. But what I will say is that down here on the daily, I actually did this is the one thing I bought today. Pick some up because, zooming in, getting into the real nitty gritty, there actually was. I mean, I like your strategy on a higher time frame. You're much better at catching the big kind of expansion vacuum moves, which ultimately is just a heck of a lot less of a headache than what I'm trying to do here. But once this confirmed, I picked some up today in case it just takes off. But I actually have much larger bids down here. So if Bitcoin dumps or pumps or does anything volatile at all, and then these shit coins all just go whoop, instead of selling because I hit a stop loss or something, I'm going to be filling bags. And that's pretty much true across all the alts that I'm watching.
I love those range deviation moves as well. Like that's a huge, it's like the equivalent of a swing failure pattern. It's a huge reversal signal. And there's, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be continuation off of that.
Yeah. Now somebody asked about HAKKA.
HAKKA? Why do you pull that one up? Or are you just going to talk about it?
Oh, well, yeah, I was just going to talk about the chart real quick.
Okay.
Jim wants to hear about it. Did you?
I had a link chart ready to go.
Okay, perfect. We're going to fire a link in a second. I'll be quick on this because I don't really know anything about it, except for that Messiah is bullish on this one. He was on stream with me last Monday for the election special, and we talk often. He's got a big bag of HAKKA, and he really likes it. So I'm not going to go and say fundamentally that I could really speak to it, but I will say on the chart, obviously when it came out, and then there must have been some inflation in here. It's a DeFi token, but look at the volume picking up here. And Jim said, look, it's been rallying, and it has. I mean, it's definitely got a really nice pop. So again, being Mr., wait for shit to come into the zones that I like, not chasing, I would draw this up. And because it's Chart X Pro, I don't get my sexy version of the RLZ, but that is still down in this area. So, and then, look at that. There's your bullish throwback. The one thing is this thing already kind of had a throwback. You can see right here where it really already tested that level. So who knows if we'll get that again. But if we do, and I want to buy this thing, that's probably where I would do it. Now, if I'm going to say, well, it's pumping, so I need a pump chaser fib, it technically already tagged that, because this would be your pump chaser zone right here between the 3.5 and the 5. And we already got that tag just yesterday, I guess. Would have been overnight. So, yep, there's definitely going to be, and that, and that's it. That's why I use the pump chaser zone, because he's shooting up. I'm not going to buy it. I will set my bids here. A lot of people did that, and that is why price bounced right there at about 4 cents. So, keep an eye, guys. This stuff works like a charm. If something really is pumping, you just have to chase it with your fib, chase it with your fib, chase it with your fib, and then just keep bidding the 382. You will get filled eventually. And yeah, you might get squeezed if it goes to the RLZ. So it's not like a free thing, but as far as catching a major move, 382s are pretty common tests.
That's good.
That's my quick take on HAKKA as far as buying the dips.
Cool. I guess I'll quickly dive into Link USD here. This is an easy one. It's not going to take long. yeah, I think, we didn't get this fill down here, but if that ever, if this were to break down for whatever reason, yeah, link to $4. However, right now, very similar to what we're seeing in Solana, YFI, etc. Alts are coming into big throwback levels right now. Clearly, this is an ascending triangle structure. Usually those are bullish, right? In an uptrend, right? But what we need to see for it to confirm is basically a break and hold above this, say, 13.7 level, 13.9, right? And the reason why I don't want to be taking a long literally right here at resistance, that's an awful idea. But a better idea would be to wait for this little pop. It's going to come back, guys. Come on, it always comes back, right? And if this turns to support here, that's your confirmation, right? Boom, confirmation, fucking send it. We'll see this thing at $16. And then obviously your next target going to be up here, $19, right? And then, wherever she goes after that. I'm bullish on Link long term. I think they've put into place over 300 partnerships at this point. And that's one of my primary growth strategies and advice to new stage projects. Partner, partner, partner. Leverage other people's network effects, create positive feedback loops, and legitimize your project. 3 stones. Yeah. All in all. So yeah, anyways, wait for this move. Otherwise, this is resistance. And, ascending triangles can be sons of bitches sometimes too. So say, we're getting long. Oops, sorry. Right? It could be.
They even wick out the bottom there and then close back inside.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. God, I hate these things. But at the same time, this is, my point is it could get dragged out a little bit longer rather than just, okay, going in one go, right? Especially if we see the alt markets, cool off here for a couple of days if Bitcoin wants to do something. Even now, if you can quickly look at ETH here, looks like I may have sold the top locally there. So a little pat on the back to myself. And that's
Didn't message me.
Actually, I think I told you just before we hopped on stream.
You did, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. What do we need to see for this Ethereum move to hold up and me not think this is a swing failure pattern and we're about to fucking get crushed back down to 450? Clearly, we need this 465 level, 466 to be holding. You look at this thing, right? You go back here, you can go back here, like this great confluence. So 465, that's the line in the sand right now. Look at that. I already got my alarm set. And at this point, just chill because there's no long trade unless you're longing off this little throwback here or waiting for it to go up. Anyways, back to the alts. I know, sorry, I got put off to the side there.
Yeah, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Let's do a turbo, and I'm bad at this. I'm notorious for talking too much on it while we do our quick back and forth. But let's see if we can do that.
I'll do Doge and LTC to start.
Doge and LTC. Okay, you start there, and I'll go with DOT and STORJ.
Let's see. I'll take the Binance pairs.
What do we call this one? Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Okay, Dogecoin. It's just a fucking mess. I can never advocate for taking any trades in Dogecoin except that Elon Musk bullshit, because there's no active development, right? Where's it really going to go? It's just a meme coin at this point. It's made people money and stuff. This is a key resistance level. Dogecoin needs to move above this 0032 level. If it does so, yeah, we could be talking about moving up another 10, 15% to the range highs, right? But again, what's the real catalyst for this thing to move up to all-time highs? I just don't get it. There is none. There's zero catalyst. So unless a development team comes in or something, this thing is just this is going to ping pong back and forth. And a rising tide lifts all boats. So generally, anytime the market's having a good move for an extended period of time, these other coins will follow reluctantly. But again, that's what I'm saying. When the market does reverse widespread, these things get fucking pulled hard. They'll be the first to die. So careful on this one. I can't suggest getting into it. There's much better opportunities out there.
Yeah, Doge has never been that sexy to me either.
Yeah. So yeah. So
cute
Doge.
Dog though.
Oh yeah, I wish I had one. It's nice Shibu. LTC, this is, I've been bearish on this one for a while, but I might have to rethink things. It's crazy. This thing has, it's been coiling. When this does range expansion, it's going to be a fucking monster move. And luckily, there's so much data on this. Knowing where it's going to go is pretty predictable, right? The first target, obviously up here, right? No fucking brainer. The second target, yeah, it's going to be right off of here into this range. Again, this is like your 2017, 2018 style throwback levels. That's going to be your God tier indicator that this thing's about to move fucking hard. And your stop loss for the current moves, well, it's probably right below this throwback level right here. Look at that. Look at that. It goes all the way back here. This is a 3-day chart, guys. Like, I'm pulling levels all the way back from April. That's how compressed this market has gotten. It's crazy. So like, if this thing really does go, which, if Bitcoin and Ethereum go, yeah, LTC is going to follow, right? And you can really see
PayPal's listing them, I believe.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of underlying demand there. Nice little consolidation, right at the top of it right now. So in terms of percentage moves, if we do break this high here, well, you're going to be looking for this. Boom, boom, and boom. So yeah, there's some great upsides. Your downside, again, if you're longing right here, it's going to be right below here. So, it's not the greatest time to get into a long, unless you're that investor we were talking about with that 4-year timeout, like dollar cost average, right? Otherwise, you kind of have to wait for a break and hold above $64, which will then, targets upside $82, $100 plus. So waiting for $64 if you're not already long, or if you're doing some short time scalping and stuff, you can throw this thing down to the 4-hour, no worries. And we're already seeing, look at that. So this is why you go down to the lower time frames to identify these levels. Look at that, right? So if you're taking a long off, between $64 and $57, your stop loss is going to have to be below 56, right? We've already seen this level confirm itself, right? So this was resistance, 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 breaks through it, retests support, comes back down, supports again. This is the level to hold right now. The only concerning thing about this, sometimes we point this out. So we've had that first support touch, it got up to here, another support touch, and it's only gone up to here. So you got weakening highs off of this. So that's a little concerning. But again, if we can get above this $64 level, I think it's going to be fine. And if you're currently long, your stop loss is below $55, $56.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. We're going to flip over here to STORJ. What can I say? STORJ is at a level. It's back at the breakout levels. It's definitely in a location where I become interested again in assets in general. This massive failure on structure does not look good. In the sense that it hasn't come down too far from that. But I wouldn't be shocked to see a test of that. And whenever that test comes, breaking this level on the first try is pretty unlikely.
Wi-Fi getting nuked right now, by the way.
Ooh, nice. I actually had a quarter of a Wi-Fi the other, and I sold it this morning because I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to take my, whatever it was, $200, like I said. So that is validating. But when STORJ, we'll flip over to that live, but when STORJ does finish this little move up, which it already might have, again, if I'm looking to get long, I like these RLZs. So wherever this high ends, which could have been here, might continue. This is an area where I can now take risks, probably even tuck my stop right below the 88.6 on a fundamental level. If you like Wi-Fi, if you like STORJ, I want you to take a look at ZCN. Do your own research. Go look at this one. This is an old one that we invested in my group from 2017. So, obviously this is not much history, but it started to catch a pump today. They're doing a bunch of liquidity mining. They're finally coming around to the crypto side of things. So after 3 years of talking about mainnet, they've got a lot of stuff coming up, and it is a sort of decentralized file storage like STORJ. And it's got a slightly lower market cap. So for those of you who asked about STORJ, this one, real quick, I could probably just draw this up here in a jiffy. Yeah, there's like a little thing happening here on STORJ with some volume. So take a look at STORJ. I didn't want to go right into it. ZCN, Zero Chain. I sold my original bag. We bought it at $1 for ICO years ago. I've long since sold it, but I am now looking at it again as my buddies are like, I'm still holding. So we'll see. But I'm pretty pumped about this one coming back. And yeah, if I can catch something my usual, like an RLZ, as you guys know, I like maybe down to there. I want to get some ZCN. And I also like STORJ. In fact, STORJ was my very first ICO in 2017. I think it was May. Put $350 into it, something like whatever, how many ETH that was, and
turned it into $1 million, right?
Oh, yep, always gonna be my baby. No, I think it came out at 7x. It peaked at that year, but yeah, maybe I should go get some STORJ just for old time's sake. And the other one I had ready for you guys is DOT. Not a whole lot to say. I'm really bullish on it, but For now, it's just kind of chopping along. It's building a base. It's searching for a bottom. It's not got a ton of price history, so you're not going to get those big, rich, juicy accumulation zones like we've seen. Do I see any signs of major accumulation happening on volume? Nope. So, I think there's a setup in here. It's actually what I had drawn up on my chart a little before this, and I have been playing around with some trades. So yeah, I mean, this is as good as level as any for now to be thinking about dollar cost averaging for a longer term bag into next year. But I don't see any major accumulation signs here. So if these lows are gone, sub $3.80, there's good reason to think that we'll explore a little lower on DOT. But fundamentally, I'm super bullish on this one. So I'd be looking to buy back at $3 if I had some that I sold. So while you're saying Wi-Fi is getting nuked,
yeah,
I mean, you're always looking at the lower time frames, right? Because you like to play with that leverage.
Down 10%. I think it's down 5% since we started streaming already, actually.
Yeah, and that's actually why I decided for the little bit that I had, I decided to get rid of it. Not because I thought, it's definitely going down, but I had profit. It was overbought. The RSI showed a big divergence. The MACD showed a big divergence. There was no real volume on the follow-up move up. And of course, everyone was saying it's like guaranteed 20K, and it hit like 19.4. And I was just like, you know what? I woke up this morning. I was like, I'm just going to get out of here. And mostly because I just want to get it cheaper. And so you guys know where I'll be looking, down here. And if it does end up down there, a lot of people are going to be calling it a big fake out and dead, and they'll be selling and capitulating, and stop losses will be triggering below this wick, and I will be filling my bag.
Somebody's got to provide liquidity.
Somebody.
So I got a quick SNX chart here. This is a perfect example. Came right. Are we on my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we came. What a fucking hard rally. I guess a lot of people were short on a lot of this stuff, like IVE, YFI, SNX. Like the shorts were showing. And sure enough, look at that fucking squeeze. That's in a week, 120% move. Yeah, we hit the daily resistance, the throwback level there. What do we need this? Like, where's your real buy? It's down here at 3.4 and 3.6. If we see this former, like, look at this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times to hold this level. If this flips back to support, this is your new range. This will establish the range right here between here. Whoopsies, that's the time bars. Don't need that just yet. It'll establish your range between here and here. A 55% range. Wow. Going to be a lot of opportunity in there. However, I'd be looking. I'd set some bids down here. That's what I'd be looking for. I definitely don't want to be, getting long up here, especially, we're seeing some negative price action right now across the board here, across the majors at the moment, kind of spilling down into the alts. But yeah, maybe throw some bids down there at 3.4 in validation, probably below here, 3.1-ish. And if we do see a range expansion move, above, what is this, 5.2, then fuck yeah, we're going to have some really low risk trades to be taking here, right? 1, 2, 3, look at that. And your stop loss is going to be, whoa, Ethereum 464.
Just pulled that up. I was like, oh, wow, it is actually free falling here. I mean, just back to a bullish throwback. In fact, that's probably long if you tried to.
Yeah.
If you were rushing to trade the breakout today, this is probably a lot of people's long spot here.
Well, I just closed a third of my short here, full disclosure.
Which is essentially buying. So you just bought some Ethereum. There you go. Bitcoin does look like a savage swing failure pattern in the making, though, doesn't it? Swept the highs by like $1 and then just rolled back. So we'll see. But you got to expect things like that, highs like that, to be sold. I mean, there's going to be bears lingering trying to sell that. It doesn't mean they will win the day, but they have won the hour. That's what we're seeing here. In fact, they swept by what? 15,960, 15,965, a $5 move, and then rejected on Binance. So we'll see how that ages through the night. I got to do a couple quick more ones, and I've got to actually wrap. Like I'm pretty stuck to our hour cap here, but we're 3:10, so we're probably fine here. Let's see KNC. I've got it up over here. This is another one that caught the DeFi fever. Another ICO that I was in from 2017. Pretty cool. I think I had like a 3.2 personal ETH cap, so it wasn't too crazy, but it did well. And this summer it did really well. and now it's right back in, like most of these, into its zone. Not much to say, except for that bottoms don't usually look like this. In fact, along the way to a bottom, you get a lot of these that end up being fake outs. You got it here, you got it here, you got it here. So what things am I looking for to make a difference between those other two examples? Well, we want to see bullish divergence, which we are getting. So momentum's indicators, not as much here, but actually, wow, not so much at all on the RSI that just made new lows at this final dump. So yeah, we'll see. Not excited to run into any of these alts, guys. Like when I'm going to get really excited, obviously those RLZ pullbacks, I can take a shot. Those are the highest risk ones though, because it's like the first impulse off the bottom. You're buying that first. That's an aggressive attempt. I'm going to do it because I'm bullish on alts and the market's generally bullish. But a real bottom, the one that's like a lot easier, confident to come into, kind of, it's never that clean, but something like, and then it's just, and then you break out and then you get the retest. So that's when I'll be a lot more excited, and that could be into the spring, which people don't want to hear. But for now, I'm going to be trying to snipe some trades on sort of like an RLZ. So it's kind of the same old story. The thing about altcoins is so many of them just look the same.
Yep.
KNC, no different.
Okay, so I'll finish up with ZIL here, and if you want to take CND, then we can call it a wrap.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a good session here, guys. Thanks for the engagement, support. We love it. Anyways, ZIL, it's one of these old Bitfinex tokens. It's just been stuck in this huge consolidation pattern since like June. It's your support level down here at 011. It hasn't been touched in months, right? Kind of have these rising lows. It's getting to an inflection point. Like it's almost ready. In terms of like this, look at the range contraction. This is what I'm saying here, guys. Like this thing is, and this is the first little bull signal. Where could it run to? Again, I have no invested interest in this coin. I have no idea what it does. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. But your first target is going to be into this resistance block. 25% trade. I think Bitfinex only offers 3-5x leverage. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
3.3.
Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah,
they haven't changed that in a while. Anyways,
margin, so it's not leverage. It's similar but different.
Okay. But yeah, so until it breaks this range resistance at 3 cents, God love the ranges, because 1 to 3 cents, that's where we're at. Where's your stop loss going to be if you want to chase into this trade right now? Probably right below here, 0168. You got a 5-week support range there. So yeah, that's what I would be doing. And then if we do get range expansion here, like again, I have no idea what this project does. What would be the catalyst for this to be happening? There's fantastic trade opportunities for sure, but I'm not interested in it. I think there's other markets to trade, unless there's some like fundamental catalyst, and I'm not aware of it. I'm an idiot. I don't know, but
I've had some fun scalping it more on like the 15-minute and the hourly. It's been kind of nice through that consolidation, because with RLZs, they work best when you're ranging or consolidating, because it's just like fib pong back and forth. But other than that, I agree with you. It's just not quite ready. I'll tell you what does have like a nice accumulation bottom forming, and that is CND, Syndicator, a predictions market. Raw. And this one I actually kind of found interesting on a use case platform. I saw people on my Facebook like a year and a half ago tweeting about it that aren't even really crypto people. They're in like universities and shit, and they were using it for actual predictions markets. So that was interesting. That's my take on it. Fundamentally, I've always thought that was interesting. Now, because it's got sort of this is the weekly. Again, on an investment kind of level, this is a great place to be making aggressive. Like this is a place where you want to do what you probably were tempted to do up around here, which is talk about, if fundamentally it's still strong, this is where people should be making those bolder decisions, generally speaking. Now, I'm not interested in it until it makes some kind of bottom. This is the weekly. Ideally, I'd like to see it on that, but even on the daily, I'm just not seeing it yet. I'm seeing some really nice buys come in. So we do have signs of that accumulation at the bottom. But this is how bottoms form, right? And you saw me drawing it. This is a little bit more of an extreme version, but it's this kind of thing, right? And then it's just chop and destroy and chop and destroy, and until all the weak hands who are trying to rush in and get chopped out are out, and there's some big pockets are filled, and then they'll start to reverse it. And obviously the break of these highs, you might say, well, that's so far up there. But again, zooming out to the weekly, that's actually just like the breakout from bottom range, and then you can start talking about much higher prices. So I'm interested in Syndicator. I mean, I don't know a ton about it, but because I heard people talking about it outside of crypto, I thought that's kind of cool for penetration of the sort of normie space. And yeah, I mean, I'd be waiting on this one. I think there's something to be said for risking these lows. My guess is offhand they'll get swept at some point. But I mean, all through the summer you had a worse entry. So if you're really bullish on this one and you just want to take some shots, buying around these levels on RLZs, if you have the patience to wait, is often going to age pretty well. But this is versus Bitcoin. And, as we always say, we could be into a new paradigm where, Bitcoin dominance just goes beyond. So we got to see. I think we'll end as we start to wrap up here, just talking quick about the Bitcoin dominance. It hasn't confirmed the move into this risk on window. So I should really have this here, sort of a question mark. We're not confirmed yet. We'd have to break below this level. I think it's it's easily, possible that we'll get up here before that happens, and then we get our entry. Or, God forbid, I'm just wrong, and we all get wrecked. So who knows? I think I'm pretty bullish on alts around here, as you guys can kind of hear in my voice. I'm excited to get into them, but I'm going to be waiting. And look, all those RLZs that I just talked about, okay, not so much on that one. God damn it, every other one. Let's just say YFI. This kind of a move back down. Try to make a quick point, turns into a long one. This kind of move back down to an RLZ like this, where I keep saying I want to get long. That's probably, if it happens, is going to be what would coincide with like a bounce up here in dominance, right? So there's going to be some confluence between these two charts. They do move inversely. Big altcoins like Ethereum. So a big move down on ETH BTC, for example, into this area, which is actually where I've got my bids to buy even more with some Bitcoin. That's probably, if it happens, going to coincide with this kind of a bounce. And then we get the dump. So that's my plan. That's my hope. Let's see how it works out. And with that, I think we'll flip back to cameras. Ooh, hot transfer from the producer. Very nicely done. People are not ready. END guys, we are going to wrap here for today. Thanks for coming in to join us. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, and we saw on our analytics that about half the people who watch aren't subscribers. So take this opportunity to hit the sub button. It's really important to us. It makes us look good to our bosses, and we always love to do that. So without further ado, hit us up on Twitter or in the trading pit if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, ask about. We'll be around. And with that, I think we'll be back on Friday. Nick, did you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, it's pretty much it. The only other downside risk I'm still seeing in the commodities market is gold. It's actually at this huge level here. If 1850 goes, this thing is going to get nuked back down to 1760, which is your God tier buy zone. Yep, so keeping an eye on that one. Besides that, everything else we've already talked about. Stay safe. See you on Friday.
Guys. Always play from a position of strength. Take care.